Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark from the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1967 drama Cool Hand Luke.
Forget it, man. Stop beating it into the ground. You ain't doing nobody no good.
Hey, that's not exactly fair. I believe I am providing a service by reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1967 with Cool Hand Luke. This movie has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and a 95% fresh rating from the audience. It is a classic, and it is considered by some to be the greatest movie of all time. It stars Paul Newman as Luke and George Kennedy as Dragline. George Kennedy won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and Paul Newman was nominated for Best Actor, but lost to Rod Steiger for In the Heat of the Night. I have seen In the Heat of the Night. Rod Steiger gives an amazing performance, and I'm perfectly fine with him beating out Paul Newman, even though Paul Newman was absolutely spectacular in this movie. He gives probably, I think, the greatest performance I've seen him give, and this is probably my favorite movie with him as well. He is just so resilient in this movie, and he just is really seeking individuality, and I just think he does an incredibly great job. So this movie starts with Paul Newman. It doesn't ease you into this movie. It just gives you kind of straight away what his crime is and why he's going to the chain gang. So he's shown cutting off the heads of parking meters, and it doesn't really seem like he's doing this for money, because he's not taking money out of the meters, he's just cutting them off. And I think he later just says he did this because he's bored. He lives in a small town where there's nothing to do. So his idea of having fun was getting drunk and going out and cutting off heads to parking meters, like you would. So he gets arrested, and he ends up getting put on this chain gang, and kind of the warden of the chain gang. There's like 4 new members, and he's interviewing them all and the crimes that they've committed. The other ones have committed pretty egregious crimes, and they get to him, and they say, well, this is a new one. We've never had anyone come in for this before. They basically say they're giving him 2 years on the chain gang, and they hope that he'll work out there. And it's hard work, but it's just 2 years. A lot of people, they have one guy who's like there for life, and then one guy who's there for like multiple years. So basically, it seems bad, but it's not the worst case scenario. So he ends up being put in with the other members of this chain gang. He meets Dragline right away. Dragline's kind of like the leader of everyone. He's kind of like the muscle. He's kind of like the one that people listen to. And he seems like he's like also the treasurer or the banker in this group. Definitely, he's some sort of syndicate in which he is in charge of betting and in charge of taking in money and paying out money for betting in this system as well. It's a very tight-knit system. It's a very tight-knit group of people. So you either like fit in or you don't, basically. So essentially, the first big thing that happens is Luke ends up mouthing off to Dragline, and Dragline challenges him to a boxing match. Now, Luke ends up getting his butt kicked in this boxing match. It's like not even close, but he like refuses to go down. He just keeps getting up, and it's like it's like the end of Rocky, where Rocky just keeps getting hit, and he keeps getting hit, but he keeps getting up. Only in this one, Dragline doesn't lose. So Dragline ends up kind of giving up because he doesn't want to kill Luke, which is what would happen, because Luke's getting so beaten and battered that he would end up getting killed. So Dragline stops, and then kind of the next thing that happens is they're playing a poker game, and Luke is going all in, like he's just dollars and dollars and dollars here and there, which is a lot of money back then, a lot of money for the system. And There's one other guy that's still in, and the other guy thinks that Luke has this really great hand, so he ends up folding, and Luke ends up having nothing. And Dragline ends up saying, "Hey, like you bluffed him, and you refused to go down, just like you refused to go down with me. You played a pretty cool hand there," and then that's how basically how he gets his nickname, Cool Hand Luke.
You want to see him? Yeah. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Oh, mic'd up, right?
After this point, Dragline pretty much becomes his best friend, but also kind of like Luke becomes his mentor, sort of thing. Like Dragline almost becomes like a lapdog for Luke, in which like he idolizes him because of how resilient he is, because of how he refuses to take any like a guff from anyone. Luke kind of provides like an energy and kind of like a sense of hope to these people. He kind of becomes a leader to them, in which his mannerisms and the way he does things are so much different than everyone else. Like he really doesn't care about what people think about him. He just doesn't let things bother him, and this is something that the other people really look up to him for, is that no matter how much he takes, it never bothers him. There's a scene in the movie where they are paving a road, and as the road's being paved, they have to throw dirt onto the pavement, and Luke decides that it would be fun if they make a game out of it, and they try to race each other. And as they're doing this at the same time, it really upsets the wardens because they want this to be like an all-day thing.
Get the man, boy. Get the man. Over that up here, boss. Over that up here, boss.
And they wanted it to really like tire out the chain gang. They wanted to really bother them, and instead he made a fun game out of it, and they got done really early, and then they had like kind of the rest of the day to relax. And like, this isn't something that they've ever seen before, like where someone thinks outside the box and is so good at not letting things bother him that he ends up making life better for everyone, which is kind of what Luke brings to the table here. There's a really great scene sort of in the beginning to middle of the movie where Luke is talking to his mother. She sounds a lot like Spider-Man's mother, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's mother, her voice.
You done your best, Arletta. What I done with myself is my own problem.
Oh, no, it ain't, Luke. You ain't alone. Everywhere you go, I'm with you.
But you really see like the kind of character Luke is and where he came from. He didn't have a father growing up. He had a really kind of troubled childhood, and it's a really deep, really amazing scene. Later in the movie, Luke escapes, and it's like, as far as like a prison escape, it's one of the most quickest escapes I've ever seen, where it's no build up to it. There's no planning. It doesn't show like the wheels turning in his head as to how he's going to do this escape. It doesn't map out how he's doing it. He just basically does it. One day where he digs this big hole in the ground, seemingly from nowhere. I don't know if he's been doing this over a few days or not, or if it's just something that he was just able to do during this 4th of July party, but he digs this big hole and he's able to escape. He's captured very soon after. They put chains on him. They put him in the hole, basically, which is like this outhouse looking thing, which is in complete darkness. They punish him that way. He then later on escapes a second time, and after he escapes the second time, the wardens beat him pretty badly. They put him in the hole. They force him to dig a giant hole and then fill it back up, and then dig the hole and fill it back up again. This basically builds up like the legend of Cool Hand Luke to everyone, where everyone idolizes him for his ability to escape. He's able to do this without showing any real rust, any real like ill effects. He's able to just kind of brush things off. In where with someone else it would drive them crazy, it would break them, and he's pretty much unbreakable to this point. Now, after he digs this hole and he fills it back up, and he digs it and he fills it back up again, we do see a point where it looks like he's breaking. He apologizes, he says he'll never do this again. He becomes kind of like a lapdog to the warden, where he does the warden's bidding.
Oh, come on! Stop beating it! Get out to yourself! Stop feeding off me! Get out of here!
At this point, the other members of the chain gang are completely depressed, and they are very disappointed in him for doing this, because this was the legend. This was the guy who was unbreakable. This was the person who was able to escape all the time and come back and, not feel any of the repercussions. Even though he had repercussions, it didn't faze him. He was completely unfazable. And now it's like that legend's being torn down because he is becoming the lapdog to the warden and doing the warden's bidding. Now, of course, this is all part of his plan, to where at the end of the movie he's able to escape yet again. But then after this escape, he is killed. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. This is my second or third time watching this movie, and I will say the first time I watched it, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I was really young, and I didn't understand it, and I just thought it was kind of boring. But watching it again, I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. Paul Newman is amazing in this movie, as is George Kennedy. I was kind of confused a little bit by George Kennedy's character, because in the beginning it seems like he is a rock of a character. It seems like he is the kind of guy who's like the leader of the group. Like I said, he's like in charge of all the money in the movie, but then he kind of like regresses, it looks like, as the movie goes on, where he doesn't become smarter. I don't want to say he becomes more stupid, but as he befriends Luke, as Luke becomes his mentor, he definitely seems like he's not as strong of a person, as strong of a character, to where now he's completely reliant on Luke for things. He ends up betting all of his money that Luke can eat 50 eggs, where he's like, it doesn't seem like he's thinking for himself. He's kind of letting Luke take hold of the situation, almost like Luke's deciding his fate. I thought that was really weird. I thought he was going to be like a strong character, and then at the end I just didn't see that. He seemed like he was kind of a weak character, and I just thought that was weird. Besides that, I thought that the writing was absolutely fantastic. The cinematography is really great in this movie too. A lot of it's outside and in the fields, but the camera work they do is really quite amazing. The script is absolutely fantastic. I really love in the beginning where they just have him doing these different tasks that are slowly having Luke gain favor with the people. Like I said, the boxing match where he refuses to stay down, the poker match where he ends up bluffing and winning a lot of money, and then there's also a scene where he says he can eat 50 eggs and no one believes him, and then he actually does it. So his ability to bring all these people together who maybe didn't like each other at first, but his ability to bring these people together and have them work together and have them like each other, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And I thought his character throughout the entire movie was steady. I didn't think that there was any ridiculous things that he did that destroyed his character or made it something that he wasn't. His relationship with his mom and the scenes with his mom are fantastic. And the only negatives I have about this movie is that there is a dog that dies in this movie, and that is one thing you should never do in a movie is kill the dog, because you will immediately get a ton of people who will turn off, not want to watch it anymore. As an animal lover, I hated that scene. I didn't think the scene was needed at all, especially with how emotional and how heartbroken the owner of the dog was. It's really hard to look at. There's also a turtle that dies, which I wasn't a huge fan of either. Luke does give a speech at the end of the movie where he's talking to God, which I thought was kind of weird. So in the movie, he doesn't seem to really believe in God. In fact, at one point, he like challenges God, like, "Please kill me. Like, I don't care what you do. Just like make me feel something." And at the end of the movie, he's asking God, like, what is his direction in life? Like, what is he supposed to be doing? Where is he supposed to be going? And it's just weird that he came to that conclusion at the end, because you never really feel like he cares about that, like, ever. Like, at what point in the movie did he realize, like, I care about where my life is going? If he came to that realization, it was all inside, because you never get that feeling on camera that he even cares. And I just thought that was kind of like out of the blue and out of nowhere. But besides that, I thought the movie worked really well. There's a lot of really good character actors in this movie. They all do their jobs really well. There's not a single well, there's only one actress in this movie, who has a very small but important role, I think some would say. But I didn't think any of them were bad. In fact, I thought they were all incredibly fantastic with what they were doing. This movie is just acted really well. Like, everyone is great in this movie. And yeah, besides the animal cruelty scenes and the fact that I thought that Dragline's his arc was a little bit weird, not at all where I thought it would go or where it should go. I didn't like him becoming like this sniveling type of character who kind of worshipped Luke. I just thought it was weird. Especially since at the beginning he beat him in a boxing match. Like, I really thought he was going to be this larger than life character, and it didn't turn out to be that way. And I was kind of bummed out by that. I thought that's where he should have gone. But besides that, I thought this movie was fantastic. I don't personally think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. There are a lot of movies that I've seen on this list that I thought were better, but it is a really great movie, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.